Stop obsessing over arrangement. If your transitions or drops sound clunky or forced, it's not because you have things in the wrong spot per se, it's because you're not processing what the real villain is. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact Chris Lake style processing that I like to do that makes flowing into the next section effortless. And I'm not just guessing here, if you use these strategies, you will get results. These approaches helped me land a Beatport #1, and just last year I got another Beatport top 10 because I've spent the last 5 years in Ableton learning that if your synths aren't processed to move, neither will your track. Now the common approach is just throw on a reverb or a delay, or just leaving synths on their own and maybe not processing them at all. What I like to do, and it's a very public open secret, FX stacking. The reality is the delays and other effects should be the fuel for the engine, which is the sound, to move the track forward. And if you like what you're hearing in the background right now, this is my new song. It is out now. This is the track we're going over. Let's get into it. Okay, so we're first going to be talking about this stab, and it sounds like this out of context. Do you hear that delay? Pretty loud. I brought it back down. And then we have a reverb also. Exaggerated for just to show you here. And now in context, that's what this sounds like right at the drop. So it's very subtle at the start, but it's like the impact on the one, right? You're gonna get it here too. And now you're probably thinking, oh, I didn't really hear that other stuff, but you might have, but you might not have. But the idea is that with these reverbs, with these reverbs and delays, one thing I've learned and been told before by many people more studious than I is that you kind of want to have them like so barely noticeable. Now, sometimes that's the best practice, sometimes it might not be. Everything is objective, obviously it's music. But I thought that was just very useful for this track. So you can hear it when it's soloed, but when I turn all this off, it sounds so dry. So playing that all together, you hear that right away, the difference. Like it just dies. So that ain't it. So we turn this on, our audio effect rack here. Yeah, sorry, buttons happen. And like that reverb just carries so much of it. You get that whole whoosh, wash on the backside. So to do that, this is what we're doing. We have a reverb here and a compressor. So what the reverb is doing is we're sending the signal to the reverb. It's going at 100% wet, so the entire signal coming out after this reverb is just reverb. There's none of the dry signal anymore. After that, what we're doing is going into this compressor, which we open up to get sidechained by the original source, which is this chain, which we could rename dry. And to do something like this, you would just need to get yourself a reverb, put that on your track. You can right click and go group, and then it'll be, this is an audio effect track you see now. But what we have to do is open it with these 3 lines here, and then you get this. So then you can right click here and go create a chain. Now this chain has no audio effects here, you see. So this is going to be our dry chain, like we have over here. And our reverb would be at 100% mix, and then that's your sound again. See? But what we do with the sidechain, I'll show you back on this one now. This sidechain is here, so the reverb doesn't happen when the original sound happens. It gets out of the way, just like how a kick would get out of the way of a kick drum, or sorry, a bass line would get out of the way of a kick drum when it's triggered. The reverb is getting out of the way of the stab once it is triggered. That's what this line here is. So if I had this up, make it exaggerated. So you hear the reverb instantly. Now I have this down, you hear that delay. So I have it somewhere in the middle here. And that's the line it takes to come back up. Same for the delay. We have the compressor here doing the same thing. It's less of an issue with delays, especially when it's a single shot, but once you get into more rhythmic stuff, like something we have later on that I'll show you, it's very useful to have the compressor for that also. So just knowing that, try layering a reverb and a delay on some of your impacts, your stabs, your synth shots, and just like see how much can happen with that. The next sound we have right underneath it is just that sound but delayed and reversed. So to do that, this one is one of my favorite things to do. What I'm going to do here, I can just copy this sample, make a new audio track, load it in, and there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. So we could just copy the reverb, paste that onto here. Now you get something like that, but you might want to make the decay longer. And we could also throw in a delay maybe so it can like bounce back and forth. This doesn't have to be at 100%. This can be whatever you want now because the other one is 100%. Maybe turn that to ping pong. And now once we have something like that, we can just right click this, and in Ableton 12, the beta will have bounce track in place. Others will just have freeze track and flatten. That's what we're going to do. Freeze the arrangement. And then it'll say flatten or bounce track. We're going to do that. And now we have this piece of audio. And what we can do, just simply cut a piece here, right click, hit reverse. And now it's basically just like audio rising in volume. But what we can do now is throw on another reverb, just so it falls off a little better, and then shape it. This is what we can do like that. So that's essentially what we did here. And then the processing I did afterwards was just, I automated an echo. The processing I did after is just automating this echo at about 50%. I filtered it. If you don't know, this EQ filter in the echo is really useful. See, it's about the same shape as this coming out. And I just have a high feedback on a 1/8 echo. And that just makes it bounce a little bit really fast in the background. And that goes every 4 bars. Right? No, every 2 bars. And so if you just listen to these two together, like they're doing a lot on their own already, and this is one of those things that a lot of people talk about having all your sounds kind of sound like they're in the same room. If you can make sounds for your song with the sounds you're already using, like I mean like support layers and all that stuff, that's when everything sounds really cohesive and fully together. Another synth I want to show you here is just, this is a really basic synth that I feel like everyone's made before. This is what it looks like. I actually didn't make it, but it's two sawtooths, a simple bandpass, and some effects, distortion, another filter, compression, whatever. Basic. So if I take this filter off, this is what it sounds like. Just standard saw waves, whatever. What we can do with it, without having to put it into audio, I'm making both like a reverse and like a drop impact. So to make this reverse, what we have is all the high end getting cut out and opening it up. So we're like revealing the sound, so it sounds a little more reversed. And how we're doing that is we're automating the cue of this, because this is very useful here. This is like a different way. I really like using the cue for automation because it's like a different way to do opening up the high end or low cuts, high passes, right? So on this number 8 knob, usually the default is about here, right? About 70 something. So this is what just an average EQ looks like when you're moving it. What I like to do is bring the Q down on it because it raises the peak, right? But if you bring it all the way down, it just kind of angles it and flattens it down really nice. So it offers like a different tone of opening up the high pass when you use it. Something to think about. So if you watch this EQ, we have, is this doing anything? No, 2's not doing anything. It's just number 8. So I have it opening up from nothing to something. And the Q is going downward. So it's starting really high. So you get that harmonic note at the start. Because if you didn't, it would kind of sound a little, it wouldn't peak out. It wouldn't poke out as much. You just need that little whoa. Just a little bit. We have a reverb delaying at the end here. And I know we just talked about parallel processing and effect stacking. I know. When things are simple like this, it's already a wide sound. It's not meant to be like a crazy present stab. It's not necessarily only a supporting layer. It's still prominent, but it's a little leans more support. So we use that reverb just to have it fall off and hang on a little bit. Yeah, okay, so one thing I have to mention. This is the thing about having tools in your bag. You can come back to projects and see all these tools that you use, and you have no idea what you were thinking at the time, but they work functionally. So what this is a alternative OTT from a producer named Joker through Excellent Sound that I downloaded one time. It's like an OTT. It just adds a bunch of volume, expansion, compression, multiband compression, saturation, and then I have some EQ there, but we'll talk about that in a sec. And so this is all grouped together, and I just have this for this section here because I guess I wanted this reverb to sound a lot further in the back on the pre-drop. So if you look at the green bar on the side, it only gets to about there, right? If we're looking where my mouse is traveling, to the green bar, and then it pops up to here on the hit, right there. So in context, you hear the reverse. And you can hear a couple more things happening. So this reverse, why it ends up being so useful, it's because it leads into these other sounds. Right? And then we also have this stab here. Again, like the placement for all these are like kind of just in the flow of things, like no math equations figuring this out other than just flowing during creativity and then throwing delays and reverbs on. So listen for this sound right there. We got an echo on that one too. So if you notice, if I turn it real up, you would hear it very prominently. But we turn it down, it's very slight. You only hear the main one. And it like just bounces so quiet right behind it. Okay, but in pros, but all together. Like everything just, it bounces and then the reverse happens and then that one shot happens. Just everything's flowing and it's just 1, 2, 3, 4 like individual sounds. So lastly, we have this little synth motif that I added in. And what I noticed with this sound is that this is kind of the sound that I thought the track was going to be based upon, but it ended up being the sound that made the track possible, if that makes sense. So like I have it labeled as lead pluck, but the most times I'm using it are not in the drop. So this is what it sounds like. This is what it would be dry. pretty boring. So for this sound specifically, I don't do any of the parallel stuff on this one because I was willing to have it just push back a little bit in the mix. At 13% reverb, that's where it's hanging on for, or that's where it's living for the most part. I'm not worried about the reverb getting away of the sound. I almost like prefer that to happen because it's very plucky. I don't need it to be like the most important percussion that's popping through your headphones. So that's what this is here for. Because as you lift it up, it would start going further and further back. Now we lost it, right? You just get that little whisper of reverb in the background, which is nice. I have the decay automating in the build-ups and the breaks, along with the dry wet to make it last a little longer, and same with the delay as well. So we don't use any delays on the drops because sometimes the reverb can just carry it, or you don't need the extra effects. But in this one, we have a little delay, and we're just using it on the second build-up, not even the first build-up. And where do I use my auto pan? Oh yeah, on the fake drop. Cool. All right, so final quick listen on everything with context now that we have a little bit in our brain. Like, I was going to show you what it sounded like when it was dry, but I don't even show that footage. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. I wish I could give you a like right now for hanging out this long. The entire track is live right now. If you want to go stream it, that would be really appreciative. I've been putting out more music on my own lately, self-releasing. It's been really fun taking more ownership of music, which is cool, not relying on labels all the time. But anyways, add it to your library, listen to it later, because right now I want you to go make some awesome music. Have a great day.